August 30th, 2012, 10:30 a.m., Millstone, West Virginia. In the middle of a relentless downpour, the body of Olivia Hart was found at Phoenix Square. A beloved local performer, stabbed 3 times in broad daylight. No witnesses, no camera footage, just a missing handbag and a town left stunned. The call came in on August 30th, 2012. Rain was lashing down on Millstone, a small town nestled in the hills of West Virginia. The kind of relentless downpour that soaks everything to the bone and paints the world in shades of gray. Dispatch crackled about a disturbance at Phoenix Square. A woman, hysterical, screaming about a dead body. A few passers-by had reportedly found her and made the call. My team and I arrived at Phoenix Square, the wipers on our patrol car, fighting a losing battle against the deluge. Even through the rain, the scene was stark. In a corner of the open space, a young woman was kneeling on the wet pavement, utterly still. As we approached, the local officers already on site confirmed her identity quickly. Olivia Hart, a local celebrity, as it turned out.
She's famous here.
Officer Mike Daniels, one of the first responders, told me, his face grim under the flashing blue lights.
Works with the Community Cultural Center. An actress, singer, dancer. MC for all the big events. You'd see her face on TV all the time.
The initial forensic examination at the scene was swift but chilling. Dr. Sandra Bloom, the forensic pathologist, pointed to a superficial scratch on Olivia Hart's neck.
Could be from the assailant restraining her, a preliminary hold.
She noted, her voice somber.
Not the fatal wound, though.
She then directed our attention to her back. 3 stab wounds.
And this one,
she said, indicating a deep central puncture.
Pierced the heart. That's our cause of death.
Time of death estimation is crucial in these early stages. Dr. Bloom, palpating the body, explained the process.
No rigor mortis yet, abdomen still warm, suggests time of death was recent, less than an hour ago.
She continued, explaining the stomach content analysis.
Gastric emptying rates vary. Light meal maybe an hour and a half, medium around 3 hours, fatty meal up to 4.
Based on her findings, her preliminary estimate placed the time of death around 10:30 a.m. The news of Olivia Hart's murder spread like wildfire. Her public profile, coupled with a brazen daylight attack mere meters from her workplace, sent shockwaves through the community. The pressure on us was immense. People were scared, demanding answers. Our first move was to secure any surveillance footage from the area. Predictably, no camera had a direct line of sight on the exact spot where the murder occurred.
Damn it,
muttered Sergeant Cole Avery, reviewing the blurry images.
Looks like our guy knew the blind spots.
Adding to the challenge, the heavy rain had severely compromised the image quality. What we could discern was limited. At 10:26 a.m., roughly 4 to 5 minutes before the estimated time of death, Olivia Hart was seen leaving her building. She was wearing a long dress, carrying a handbag, and holding a polka-dot umbrella, walking in the direction of the cultural center. Little did she know what awaited her. Reviewing other surveillance feeds, we pieced together a few more details. About 50 seconds after Olivia passed one camera, 3 women with umbrellas walked by in the same direction. Then, in another clip, a fleeting, indistinct figure of a man was seen emerging from a covered rest area in the square. Phoenix Square is a large public space, usually bustling, especially during festivals. But on a rain-soaked weekday morning, it would typically be deserted. These 4 individuals, the 3 women and the man, were the only ones seen in the vicinity around the time of the murder. Could the killer be one of them? Days of painstaking investigation followed. We tracked down the 3 women. After thorough interviews and verification of their alibis, we were able to rule them out. They were simply pedestrians caught in the downpour. That left the man from the rest area. As I mentioned, the conditions were far from ideal. No witnesses, poor quality surveillance footage, limited angles. It felt like we were grasping at straws. However, during repeated analysis of the video, one small detail caught the eye of Detective Sam Lynn, a sharp observer on my team.
Look at this, detective.
He pointed to the screen, zooming in on the blurry figure.
The man, he uses his left hand to smooth his hair. twice in just 3 seconds.
This seemingly insignificant gesture raised a flag. It suggested the man was likely left-handed. We also noted his attire, a short-sleeved t-shirt and shorts. While August in Millstone is usually hot and humid, the night before the murder had seen a sudden drop in temperature. Someone dressed so lightly on such a cold and rainy morning might have been outdoors all night. Could be nothing, I mused.
But it's something. Left-handed. Possibly spent the night outside. It's a start.
Unfortunately, the 3 seconds of footage were all we had of this individual. The distance and the poor image quality yielded no further identifying features. Adding another layer to the puzzle, Olivia Hart's handbag was missing when her body was discovered. However, her jewelry remained untouched. This presented 2 possibilities. Either this was a robbery gone wrong, and the perpetrator fled in haste, overlooking the jewelry, or the missing bag was a deliberate act to mislead us, to conceal a motive rooted in personal animosity or something else entirely. We interviewed everyone connected to Olivia: family, neighbors, friends, colleagues. The consensus was unanimous. She was well-liked, kind-hearted, never known to have arguments or enemies. She was single, no boyfriend, no known romantic entanglements. Her parents were retired and also had no known conflicts with anyone. The evidence, or lack thereof, seemed to point towards a random act of violence, a robbery. And those, as any seasoned investigator will tell you, are the toughest nuts to crack. 3 days after the murder, a crucial piece of the puzzle surfaced. Workers dredging a ditch about 700 meters from Phoenix Square discovered a handbag. Given the intense media coverage of Olivia Hart's murder and the missing bag, they immediately suspected it might be related and contacted the police. We examined the bag. It matched the description of the one Olivia was carrying in the surveillance footage. Inside, we found a few insignificant items: hair clips, tissues, some loose change, but no valuables, no cell phone. The perpetrator had clearly rummaged through it.
Locard's exchange principle.
I explained to the junior officers on the scene.
Every contact leaves a trace. Our guy went through this bag. He had to have left something behind.
The bag had been submerged in a muddy ditch for days, severely compromising any potential evidence. But our forensic team is persistent. After painstaking work, they managed to isolate traces of DNA from a tiny amount of residue found near the zipper teeth of the handbag. During the hurried search, the perpetrator's hand must have brushed against it. The DNA profile was partial, but the lab confirmed it belonged to a male. We ran it through the National DNA Database, hoping for a hit. Nothing. Our perpetrator, it seemed, had no prior record. So, we knew our suspect was male, but in Millstone alone, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of men. And that doesn't account for anyone who might have come from outside the area. We did our due diligence, vetting known offenders in the locality, but none matched the profile. The case stalled. All leads seemed to have dried up. It felt like we'd hit a brick wall. But even when a case goes cold, it's never truly closed. Over the following years, we continued to cross-reference the DNA profile with every new entry into the database. Every new arrest, every new DNA sample taken. It was compared to the unknown male from the Olivia Hart case. For long years passed without a breakthrough. Then, finally, a flicker of hope. It was June 13th, 2016, almost 4 years to the day since Olivia Hart's murder. The DNA lab at the Ohio Forensic Bureau reported a near match. A 50-year-old man named Frank Lucas had been arrested for causing a disturbance during a drunken brawl at a restaurant. He received a 6-month suspended sentence. In the U.S., any criminal sentence, even a suspended one, typically requires the collection of a DNA sample for the national database. Frank's DNA profile showed a close relationship to the unknown suspect in our case.
Your chromosome DNA analysis.
Explained Sergeant Cole Avery, who had been following the cold case closely.
Men who share a patrilineal line, father and son, brothers, grandfather and grandson, uncles and nephews, often share the same Y chromosome DNA. It's passed down relatively unchanged through generations, up to 25 generations in some cases.
The lab results indicated that Frank Lucas was likely an uncle or a nephew of our perpetrator. This narrowed the field considerably. We dug into Frank's family history. He had 4 siblings, 2 of whom had sons. That meant 2 potential nephews who could be our guy. One nephew was only 15 years old at the time of the DNA match, making him just 11 at the time of the murder. Unlikely. The other was 26, with a reputation for being, ne'er-do-well Derek Lucas. We brought him in for questioning immediately. Derek's demeanor was telling. He avoided eye contact. His answers were hesitant and evasive. He looked every bit the guilty party, but a surprise awaited us. After a tense interrogation, it became clear that Derek had no connection to Olivia's murder. He was a drug user, and his nervousness stemmed from the stash he was currently carrying. His DNA, when compared, was indeed a familial match to the original sample, confirming the uncle-nephew relationship, but not an exact match.
Damn it.
I exclaimed, frustration creeping in.
So it's not him. Could it really be the 11-year-old back then? That's impossible.
But Derek's information provided another crucial lead. There wasn't just one other nephew. There was a third, about 22 years old now, named Jason Lucas, the son of Frank's youngest brother. Years ago, the younger brother and his first wife had struggled financially and had given Jason up for adoption to distant relatives. The younger brother had since remarried and had the now 11-year-old son. This new information injected a fresh surge of hope into the investigation. We started looking into Jason. His adoptive family, we learned, hadn't provided much guidance or attention. They ran an illegal gambling den, more concerned with their illicit activities than with raising a child. Jason grew up surrounded by vice and foul language. He dropped out of school after junior high, doing odd jobs and hanging around Phoenix Square, practicing his hip-hop moves with friends. We scoured Jason's social media profiles. What we found sent a shiver down my spine. Starting around August 30th, 2012, the very day of the murder, his posts took a dark turn. Depressing, pessimistic, filled with angst. He was just 18 at the time. There were photos of him wearing a black and white striped shirt, eerily similar to what the blurry figure in the surveillance footage seemed to be wearing. And then, the hip-hop photos. In several of them, performing a handstand-like move, he clearly used his left hand for support. A left-handed hip-hop enthusiast who frequented Phoenix Square. And then there was this. Jason had abruptly left Millstone exactly 4 years prior, around the time of the murder. We mobilized our resources and tracked him down in Ohio, where he was working odd jobs. 4 years had changed his appearance, but as our officers approached him, they noticed a familiar habit. He ran his left hand through his hair. The DNA comparison confirmed it. Jason Lucas was our man. Back in Millstone, faced with the irrefutable evidence, Jason confessed. His story was a grim tale of desperation and misguided love. He'd grown up neglected and angry, surrounded by crime, and raised without boundaries. At 17, he fell hard for a girl named Maya Hernandez, a waitress at a local diner. He spent all his money trying to impress her. When that ran out, he stole from his adoptive family, and they responded with violence. The night before the murder, August 29th, 2012, Jason and Maya had been hanging out at Phoenix Square. He remembered Maya's birthday was coming up on September 1st and wanted to get her a gift, but he was broke. After Maya went home, Jason lingered in the square, soaked in rain and self-pity. His thoughts spiraled. The next morning, he saw Olivia Hart walking by, dressed well, confident, someone who looked like she had everything. In Jason's distorted logic, he assumed she had money and became fixated. He followed her to a secluded corner of the square, out of sight of any cameras. He confronted her. She screamed. He panicked. He stabbed her 3 times, the last wound piercing her heart. He grabbed her handbag and ran. Didn't even notice the jewelry. He rifled through the bag by a ditch 700 meters away and, finding almost nothing, tossed it. Then he went to a nearby artificial lake and threw the knife and her phone into the water. That night, he confessed everything to Maya. She was shocked, but didn't report him. He begged her to leave town with him, claiming he did it all for her. She agreed. They fled to Ohio. Their life together lasted just a year. Poverty, stress, and guilt tore them apart. After Jason's confession, we deployed divers and equipment to drain the lake. It took over a week, but eventually we recovered the knife and Olivia's phone, buried in thick mud. The knife still had trace biological material. That evidence would undergo lab confirmation, but Jason's detailed confession had already closed the case. Maya was brought in for questioning. At first, she claimed she didn't know about the murder, but under pressure, she broke down. She admitted Jason had confessed to her the very night it happened. She had chosen to run away with him out of fear and a distorted sense of loyalty. That made her an accessory after the fact. Jason Lucas was tried for first-degree murder. The evidence was overwhelming. His confession, DNA match, social media patterns, the recovered murder weapon. He was found guilty and sentenced to death. Maya Hernandez was convicted of harboring a fugitive. She received 12 years in prison. The people of Millstone could finally breathe again. For 4 years, the memory of Olivia Hart's murder had haunted the town, a chilling reminder that tragedy can strike in even the quietest corners. But this wasn't just about a crime. It was a window into something deeper. How a young man without guidance, consumed by desperation, could destroy multiple lives trying to prove love through violence. Jason Lucas thought he was doing something for love. But real love doesn't ask for blood. Real love doesn't end in headlines or courtroom silence. Justice was done, but Olivia Hart's absence, her talent, her light, would always be felt. Phoenix Square would never be quite the same. The rain had long stopped falling by the time the trial ended, but for those who lived through it, the stain remained.